For close to 90 years, the McSwain Theater has anchored Ada's West Main Street, its ostentatious facade never failing to draw attention from locals and travelers alike. It has served as the scene for many unforgettable life moments, from the thrills provided by motion pictures to the soul-stirring sounds of musical theater. Above all, the McSwain has always stood for family. Thanks to a commitment from the Chickasaw Nation, that will not change.
The Chickasaw Nation has long been a promoter of Ada community and local activities that go on. Governor Anatobi's, one of his passions is actually to make sure that families can reunite, have nice, safe places to visit, to enjoy entertainment. And he actually had a vision to bring back to Ada Main Street something that had been lost, just that place where people could come together and have a good time and enjoy family, wholesome entertainment.
Realizing his young community of Ada needed some cultural entertainment, Foster McSwain built his theater in 1920 as a vaudeville and silent film showcase. It cost him $100,000 to construct, no small sum of money in those days. The McSwain Theater quickly became the social nerve center for Ada's bustling Main Street, holding as many as 1,250 patrons inside its palatial walls.
One time, the family lived up on the 3rd floor, and the vaudeville entertainers actually lived on the 2nd floor, and then, of course, the acts in the theater portion.
The McSwain wasn't the first theater in downtown Ada, but it was the first large theater and the first real showplace for the young community. Before the McSwain opened, Ada's Main Street was home to at least 7 different smaller theaters, including the Air Dome, the Empress, the Liberty, the Grand, and the Majestic. Ada's first theater was the DeSoto, which opened at 123 East Main in 1907. But once the McSwain opened, it didn't take long to become the local favorite.
It was usually the one that had the preview. The other ones were just mostly till 10:30 or so, you know, bedtime. They didn't have the previews like the McSwain did. They had a certain da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know, I mean, we knew that here come the news. But yes, we got a lot of news from there because then all we had was the radio. And they had cereals, you know, and you needed to come back because you don't know if the fella who jumped off the cliff died or not, so you had to go back next Saturday to see if he did. They usually would last for 10 or 12 serials, you know, and then start a new one. So that was usually along with the regular main movie.
The first silent film shown at the McSwain in 1920 was Suds, featuring Mary Pickford. Records show that adults could get in to see that picture for $0.25, while youngsters only needed a dime. In 1929, the first talkie, a motion picture with sound, arrived at the McSwain. The film was The Canary Murder Case and starred William Powell and Louise Brooks.
Well, I know it was so much fun. I lived out in Bing, which is 6 miles north. Country girl, but when we could come in town, why, it was a big thrill to go to the McSwain. You know, we didn't have Sunday movies then. And they would show a film on Saturday night. My dad would say, well, okay, you can go, but you have to get up and go to church and Sunday school in the morning and stay awake. Bill Blackburn, we were sweethearts through high school at Bing, and he worked at the corner drugstore there where the diamond shop is now. And he didn't get off until 10. But I usually managed to get in there before he closed so he could make me a cherry coke for a dime. I used to fix hair for my neighbor and make a dime or a nickel or a quarter, you know, but then when he'd get off, we'd go stand in line a long time sometimes, you know, to get into the movie, but it was so much fun.
As the popularity of talkies grew, the popularity of vaudeville acts diminished. Talkies made a tremendous impact and greatly increased traffic at the McSwain, prompting the theater's first renovation in 1935 to the tune of $25,000. According to newspaper reports, the theater was gutted, leaving only the original exterior walls. With the new interior came a new balcony, mezzanine level, and most importantly, an air conditioner.
He even puts an ad in the paper about come where it's comfortable, you know, and enjoy your time here, you know, watching the movie. Bill usually paid for me, but I don't know. I know his older brother was short, and he'd only have to pay a dime. I think you could only get in for a dime at a certain age, you know, as you're a child, and then when you're a teenager, it went up to 15 or 20 or a quarter, I don't know. But I've heard him tell that he could get in for 10 cents. He could barely see up over the little stand.
The McSwain Theater continued to grow in popularity throughout the pre- and post-World War II eras. Although Main Street claimed several other movie theaters at the time, including the McSwain family-owned Ritz in Kiva, the McSwain Theater remained the favorite spot. There were two significant premieres held at the McSwain during this time. In 1946, stars Roy Rogers, Dale Evans, and Gabby Hayes attended the premiere of their film Home in Oklahoma. The event caused such a stir that a 40-cent ticket could be had on the streets for $5.
Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and Dale Evans were popular then, and I have a picture of Charlton Heston with Foster McSwain, and some of those, of course, they're gone on now, but Clark Gable, you know, some of those good-looking guys, why, we'd have a heartthrob for them.
Just 3 years later, the McSwain would again host a star-studded premiere. The Ada premiere of the film Tulsa was attended by its two stars, Robert Preston and Susan Hayward. Adding to the local excitement was the fact that Preston and Hayward stayed at the nearby Aldridge Hotel while filming some of the movie sequences south of town. The McSwain Theater continued to provide local residents a place to relax and enjoy big-time silver-screen entertainment throughout the next 3 decades. Playing host to practically every major Hollywood release of the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. The theater also retained its capacity as a live forum as well, sporadically hosting unique events such as the Billy Graham Crusades. With the oil bust of the 1980s, the McSwain Theater, like many of Oklahoma's institutions, fell on hard times. The rise of multiplex theaters with their smaller screens and greater variety also hurt the McSwain, and the Grand Ole Theater was forced to close its doors in 1987.
It just closed for good, and it was kind of sad.
In 1990, local real estate broker Paul Alford purchased the McSwain Theater. He remodeled it and reopened it as a live music theater. The new theater featured performances from local talent as well as its own house band, the McSwingers. The Chickasaw Nation purchased the building from Alford in 2002 and closed it down for a major renovation.
This project started renovation in, I think it was February of 2003. It kind of hit a stalemate for a couple of years, so it's actually been on and off for about 4 years, probably mainly off for the first 2 before it started back again. So in all, I think we started in 2003 and completed it in 2009. The McSwain Theater actually is a renovation, not a restoration. The restoration would have been to have taken it back totally to the way it looked in the 1920s when it was built, to the vaudeville days when activities went on. We weren't able to actually bring it back in the restoration phase. There are just too many safety issues now that you have to meet code on. There were too many other factors that once we got into the remodeling of the building, found out that we couldn't take it back to a restoration. We had originally hoped to be able to do so, or at least as nearly as we could, but just weren't able to do that.
The newly renovated McSwain Theater will offer a combination of productions for the showgoers, maintaining both the silver screen and live music traditions for which the Grand Ole Theater is well known. Although there are a few small changes, the entertainment promises to be just as good.
The new band is called Crossover, whereas in the past it was called McSwingers. There are some new members, there are some older members that were with the band originally. But for the most part, it's new performers. J.L. Stillwell will be the lead vocals, as has been in the past, and so those music shows will be held once a month still. But it will differ in the fact that not only now will this band be offering the country music shows, they will also be able to do like 70s and 80s type music, a little bit of gospel type, a little bit of all types of music, whereas in the past we were primarily country music oriented. When we open back up, we will also be able to show movies. They won't be first run movies. They will be movies such as It's a Wonderful Life at Christmas time, some family entertainment style movies. So it won't be the movies that you can go to North Hill Center and see. We're not trying to compete with anyone as in that type of a venue. It will be more family oriented. There will be Native American film series movies also. The second floor of the theater will now be used as an art gallery. In the past, the second floor was closed off for the last 15 years, I guess for sure, that Mr. Alford owned the theater. Chickasaw artists as well as other art shows will be held in here quite often. Third floor will be used again. It will be administrative offices for the theater.
The Chickasaw Nation's renovation project will help raise Main Street's profile, but perhaps more importantly, it returns the McSwain Theater to its rightful place among Ada's most cherished landmarks.
What we hope to gain really is just pride in the community, have people in the area to be proud of this building on Main Street again. It sat dormant for so many years that you know, I think that it's going to be a really good thing for people to look at as they go down Main Street, to see the marquee lit up out front. It's going to be a really pretty sight just to come down Main Street at nighttime and see that again.
It's hard for older people to see things that they have loved, you know, for years and had fun in and enjoyed just being crumbled. So yes, I think that's wonderful that they have fixed it up.